Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports.
Miami has some trouble in paradise, and another former catcher gets his first shot as a big league manager.
Plus, our NBA experts overreact to the first week of the season, and we take our first crack at what promises to be a wild MLB offseason.
All that and so much more, and it all starts right now.
Hello and welcome to One-on-One Sports. I'm Jake Soder.
And I'm Ryan Ballack. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers almost won a game, but then they lost. Here are your starting five.
Richie Incognito is no longer a Miami Dolphin and may never have a job in the NFL again. The Finns reportedly cut ties with a 9-year vet for conduct detrimental to the team after an expletive-laden and racially charged voicemail was leaked in which he berated rookie Jonathan Martin, threatening his family and Martin himself. We see rookie hazing all the time in the NFL, but this incident, a line was clearly crossed. Ryan, do you think this is an issue only on the Dolphins right now, or is it a widespread problem that just nobody talks about?
Boy, I sure hope this is only with the Dolphins. This is a crazy story, and this has escalated so fast. I feel like it kind of started off as a funny story. I mean, we talked about it on our radio show, just a guy going AWOL. It was a little weird, but now it's just the whole bullying. This is so childish. I feel like I'm in a kindergarten class. These guys can't control each other's other emotions. They got to go off and send all these mean things. I really hope this is not happening around the league.
Well, you said I really hope so too, because I would like to think that if it was happening more often, we would hear about it more often because people would speak out about it in the locker room.
But nobody even heard about this.
It's not okay. This is a professional environment. These are grown men. There's a difference between hazing and harassment in the workplace. This is harassment in the workplace. Richie Incognito is a bad person for doing this.
I'm glad you mentioned hazing, because there is hazing that goes on in the NFL with rookies, but this is really crossing the line. This is just taking it to a whole nother level. It's disgusting. Well, Jake's Red Sox did it. Yippee. One season removed from finishing last in the AL East, the Boston Red Sox beat the Cardinals in 6 games behind David Ortiz hitting .688, including some of the clutchest postseason hits in the postseason. Jake, oh boy, can you think of a better worst to first story in sports history?
Yeah, about boom! No, there isn't one. There isn't a better worst to first story in history, because never has a team gone through everything that not only this team went through with the season last year, being in worst place in the division, what the city went through with the Boston Marathon tragedy this year, to come back and win it all the following season, just like that, the complete turnaround. It hasn't happened before like this, and that's what makes it so special.
Not to take anything away from what the Red Sox did, but they were hurt a lot last year, and the manager obviously was a big issue, but they still had a lot of talented players. Like all those pitchers were there. A lot of those hitters that made big impacts in the postseason were there last year. Very impressive. But another story I wanted to mention, Tampa Bay Rays, going into 2008, never had a winning season in their entire franchise's history, and had only finished out of last place once, and that was 4 years before in 2004. And they made it all the way to the World Series. B.J. Upton had that crazy postseason. Another really cool story. Unfortunately, it was worst to second, not worst to first, but it was still pretty.
Well, I wasn't too happy in that 2008 season because they did beat the Sox in the ALCS. But for my money, I think this season is as good as it's ever gotten. Even after their season was cut short in the ALCS, it seems that the Detroit Tigers were paying close attention to the St. Louis Cardinals, and Mike Matheny in particular. The Tigers took a page out of the Cardinals' book and hired a recently retired former catcher of their own to replace longtime manager Jim Leland. Brad Ausmus will take over the Tigers skipper next season, and he joins Matheny, Joe Girardi, and Mike Scioscia, among others, as former catchers turned managers. In the NBA, Jason Kidd's making his head coaching debut after his 18-year playing career ended last season. Ryan, which coach, Ausmus or Kidd, is going to have the better first year?
Well, in my opinion, it's going to be Brad Ausmus. And the reason I say that is because of the situation Jason Kidd is put in. Like, Jason Kidd is not walking into an easy situation.
Nope.
He's got a very, very talented team. But if Jason Kidd doesn't live up to NBA Finals expectations, his season is going to be looked at as a failure. And next year, those guys are going to be gone, and his team is going to stink. So I think Brad Ausmus, I mean, he's got a money situation. The team is loaded. So I think Ausmus will have more success.
Yeah, Jason Kidd's got a very, very small window to win in. And I love catchers turning into managers. Catchers are typically very good game situational managers, and that's what makes them translate so well to the actual manager position. I think Jason Kidd has an advantage because he was a point guard, and that's what will make him successful.
I think for a younger person, like for someone just starting off as a coach, coming from a player to a coach, I think being that point guard that Jason Kidd was, I think he's going to be in the right position to step into a coach. It's still going to be difficult, but you're right. Brad Ausmus, the catchers, is also a good position to be a manager. Last week, Jake and I discussed how soon Russell Westbrook should return to the court following his knee injury. Apparently, Russell neglected to listen to us and decided to return to the Oklahoma City Thunder 5 weeks before he was projected to. Russell put up 21 points in his debut and didn't show any signs of being slowed down by the injury. Jake, do you think it was smart for him to come back, or should he have waited a little longer?
Do I think it was smart? No, I don't. He was cleared by doctors, though, so technically he was able to go play in game action, and the competitor that he is, he wanted to do that. But was it smart of him? Absolutely not. They gave him 5 more weeks until he was supposedly healthy enough to compete at the level that he was competing at. He's going to get hurt again.
If he came back in 5 weeks, I was going to be impressed. Yep. But for him to come back with the second game of the season and already come back this early, I just think it's crazy. I just think it's unnecessary, honestly. The Thunder are a very good team, and Kevin Durant can carry this team. And Reggie Jackson is not that incapable of a point guard. I think you pair the two together, and you'd be okay. But to rush Westbrook back this soon, it's risky. In my opinion.
I agree with you. I just think that he might think the Thunder can't do it without him, and he wanted to get back and help his team as soon as possible. Andrew Wiggins. Learn that name. You'll be hearing it a lot coming up this college basketball season, and you'll also likely hear his name in the same sentence as LeBron James, as many are touting the youngster as the next coming of the king himself. Only one problem. Wiggins hasn't played a single minute of a regular season game in college yet. Many college players, like projected top 3 pick Marcus Smart, have taken exception to all the praise given to Wiggins. Smart wants to know, quote, how can you be the best player in something you haven't even played yet? So Ryan, how can you, and can he?
Marcus Smart. I like what you have to say, Mr. Smart. I've been saying this since Andrew Wiggins. Everybody's been going crazy. Let's lose every game so we get Andrew Wiggins. I'm not so sure this guy is going to be the #1 pick. For one, Andrew Wiggins really hasn't proved that much to me. The guy is very skinny. He doesn't have a huge body. He can dunk. He can jump out of the gym. But the guy really can't shoot. He doesn't have a great perimeter shot, just like you mentioned LeBron James. But this draft class coming up is loaded. You got the Harrison twins. You got Aaron Gordon, Jabari Parker, Julius Randle, Marcus Smart. This is a freakish draft class that any of those guys could note #1. Andrew Wiggins, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think in a draft class, maybe like LeBron's draft class, he probably could have gone #1. But you're right, with the amount of talent, you're talking 1 through 15 could be franchise players in the NBA in this upcoming draft. That's how good it is. So when you're talking about Andrew Wiggins, let's at least see him play 1 game, and maybe then like 30 more before we decide something like this.
I know this is bold, and everybody's on Andrew Wiggins, but I honestly would not be surprised if this guy drops out of the top 5, maybe in the top 10.
I mean, we'll definitely see, but Kansas has a lot to prove, and so does he. That's all the time we have right now, but coming up, Ryan sits down with our NBA experts to overreact to the first week of the season. Stay tuned.
It's no fairy tale that the right fit means everything, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
That does make a difference.
To find out more, visit safercar.gov/therightseat.
Welcome back to One-on-One Sports, where I'm now joined by our NBA experts Stephen A. Harris and Darren Vaught to participate in a little overreaction theater. All right, guys, obviously the season is very young, but let's get some complete overreactions and hear if they actually will come into fruition by season's end. So, Stephen A., let's start with you.
All right, first overreaction, which I'm not even going to call it an overreaction because it's awesome, is the Sixers are 3-1, MCW Rookie of the Year. That's all I'm saying. His very first game opens up with 22 points, 12 assists,
almost
7 rebounds,
double.
9 steals, almost a quadruple-double. He's Eastern Conference Player of the Week. The only other person to get that award, his first week of his rookie season, Shaquille O'Neal. I'm just saying, that's pretty good company.
Yeah, I agree.
That's amazing company.
Stephen A.,
MCW,
agree that it's good.
Rookie of the Year.
I agree that it's
Wrap it
a
up,
good
let's go
little
home.
stretch through the first 4 or 5 games of the season. But what are you saying? Are you saying the Sixers are going to be a contender? Is that? Are you trying to justify that?
I'm saying MCW is going to be Rookie of the Year, and he's going to be pretty good. He's going to be amazing. Second coming of Magic Johnson. That's mine.
You know what?
That's mine.
I honestly could buy Michael Carter Williams as Rookie of the Year. This rookie class really isn't that great. And
exactly.
And if one person comes up and plays
All he's going to
Let's
need is a
focus on how it's
good
gonna be
couple
Magic
of
Johnson
weeks,
in a couple
to be
years.
honest. A
Exactly.
good couple
It's
of
gonna be
weeks and a
great.
pretty average season overall.
He's going to be amazing. Let's stop hating.
All right, let's relax with his
He's
overreaction.
awesome.
Let's get your first overreaction.
Okay, so my overreaction pertains to the defending champion Miami Heat. Not only do I think they won't be the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, but they will not three-peat as NBA champions. And it's odd that I say that and that's considered a bold statement because
three-peating's
three-peating's different.
Yeah.
But
And the Pacers looked amazing coming out of the East.
And it has way more to do with other teams looking better than the Heat looking worse, although D-Wade's knees really scare me.
And did you see there was a report coming out that there might be some chemistry issues going on?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and D-Wade compared it
that's
to a
what
relationship.
Is that they're best friends. Yeah. So I can't say that's too bold, too crazy.
As much as I would like for the Heat to not be the number 1 seed and three-peat, they still have LeBron James. And I still would think it's an overreaction to say that they're not going to three-peat, as crazy as that may seem. All right, what's overreaction number 2 for you?
All right, we're going back to some young bucks, and everyone knows on Twitter, #tanking for Wiggins. I say, let's just give him a Celtics jersey now. The Celtics have looked horrendous. Awful. Their assist leader is Avery Bradley with 3 assists per game. That's their assist leader. Are you kidding? Like, I know they don't have Rondo.
They missed Rondo just a little bit.
That's fine.
First off,
but still 3 assists a game.
Stephen A. First off,
is the leader.
There are a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts to that statement. First off, you're assuming Wiggins is going to go number 1. Second, you're assuming that the worst team is going to get the number 1 pick, which with the unpredictability of the NBA draft, like that's tough.
The worst team never gets the number 1 pick. I just say just give them a Celtics.
But
they need something.
I get what you're saying. You're saying the Celtics are the worst team.
They need to put something in green because it's gross.
I don't know. They're not that bad. They have a lot
of some of them right now.
They played really good defense so far, giving up right at 90 points per game. The
offense
is suspect.
It's actually 95 points per game.
They're going to get there. They're going to get there. Rondo's eventually going to come back. The offense is going to get in the swing of things.
The Celtics obviously need to get in the swing of things, and I mean, this is a tough transition for them, and they just lost their entire team pretty much. And Brad Stevens, this is all brand new, so give them some time to get in there. I also don't think Andrew Wiggins will be the number 1 pick, but that's another story. Second overreaction for you, Darren.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my guys, the Brooklyn Nets.
The old Celtics.
It's a terrible situation up there. Terrible situation. I don't see them even making the playoffs.
Really?
And I'm going to be honest, Jason Kidd will not be their head coach this time next year. Okay, so I like, in isolation, I like all of their points. I like their roster, their depth, their personnel. I like it. I like Prokhorov and his tenacity as an owner. I like Jay Kidd as a coach, but it's not going to work. Prokhorov has already established that he is not patient at all. He fired Avery Johnson with a .500 record early in the season.
Yeah, but Jason Kidd they love him. I think they're not going to fire him after 1 year.
Well, you say that. You say that. He'll be relegated to a vice president of basketball operations assistant or something.
The East is garbage, so they're going to be somewhere in the top 8. It's easier 16 teams make the playoffs, 14 miss. So that means it's easier to make than to miss. And the East is garbage. Yeah, the East is trying, especially that division.
Look, I don't think the Nets are going to be as good as everybody's saying. They're NBA contenders. It's going to be tough for Jason Kidd. And honestly, if Jason Kidd isn't great this year, the Nets aren't great, he could get fired. But
before the end of the season,
there's no way they're going to fire the golden boy of the Nets.
There's definitely a possibility. But the Nets missing the playoffs, I don't think it's going to happen. That's all the time we have for this theater session. We're going to take a quick intermission, but on the other side of this break, Jake gets a power rankings update from our NFL expert. Stick around.
Welcome back. I'm joined now by Matt Dowdles. He reveals his updated NFL power rankings. It's been a while, Matt, since you've done some power rankings on here. So let's start with number 5. Go to number 1. I'll let you take it.
All right, fair enough. Number 5, we got the New Orleans Saints. Love them. This year, Rob Ryan has come in and made that defense a heck of a lot better, and the offense is still great. One concern, though, is outside of playing in the Dome, they have struggled. Fortunately, only 2 more games left in the season where they have to play in the Dome, but then come playoff time, if they don't have home field advantage, that could be a problem. At number 4, stick in the NFC, we got the Seattle Seahawks. I thought they'd be higher at this point. I did. They were my number 1 guys coming out of the NFC and certainly my Super Bowl pick for them, and they've kind of underperformed. Their running game is great. The defense needs to step it up, though. In the last couple weeks, they've been run on. Mike James should not be doing that to you, and Tampa should not be almost beating you. But I digress. They're number 4. Number 3, love them. Indianapolis Colts. A little bit of a surprise here, but they've beaten Seattle. They've beaten Denver. They've beaten San Francisco.
Right.
The one issue I have with them is you need to be able to beat the teams that you should beat. Don't play down to a level of competition that you're clearly able of doing better than. You can outscore someone like Denver. You can hold teams like Seattle to like 3 points and stuff. That's great. Keep doing that. Number 2, Kansas City. I'm sorry, Chief fans. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry that I'm still at number 2. You're undefeated. Great job. I want you to be successful. But I have to stick with number 2. Your offense is just not that great. If Jamal Charles gets hurt, you're averaging like 40 yards a game, and that's a problem. But you get turnovers, you don't turn the ball over, and Andy Reid is doing a phenomenal job there. And then the Denver Broncos, number 1. I can't argue with a team that averages, over 40 points a game at this point. Sure, they have holes on the defense. Sure, they turn the ball over, cough, cough, Ronnie Hillman at the goal line a little more than they probably should. But when you're scoring plus 40 points a game, they can more than make up for it. I still have Denver as number 1.
So no love for Kansas City from you, huh? What do they have to do to overtake that number 1 spot in your book?
Beat Denver. You got them in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then you got them 2 weeks after that. I want to see you beat them at home, and I want to see you try to beat them away. And I don't care what it takes. If you somehow pull up and score 55 points, that shows something in Kansas City that we haven't seen yet, which is just an awesome offense. If you hold them to under 30 points, under 20 points, and then outscore them, that's great. If you out-turnover them, that's great. Just beat them, and I will give my love to Kansas City.
Yeah, well, one of Denver's weaknesses happens to be their defense. So who knows? Maybe the Chiefs can put some points up on them. Who just missed the cut in your rankings?
It's San Francisco. And I felt bad holding them out. They did not have the greatest start to the season, though, and they are definitely coming along. Colin Kaepernick's playing up to par. They've gone away from what the start of the season looked like. They were trying to be a little more pass-happy, and they've gone back to the roots of running the ball. I want to see them get a few more wins. I want to see them keep pushing. They're just outside of it. You can put a toss-up up for them in New Orleans. I like New Orleans just a little bit better, but San Francisco just missed it.
You get the sense that San Francisco is just starting to get it. They started running the ball more. When you have a guy like Frank Gore, why not run the ball when you can? Exactly. Coming up next, Ryan sits down with our college football experts to talk about the BCS and the road ahead.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back to 101 Sports, where I'm now joined by Preston Willett and Julian Council to discuss some of the hottest college football teams in America. So let's talk about Florida State to start this off. Now that they've beaten Miami and Clemson, does Florida State deserve to be number 1 over Alabama?
No, I'm sorry. It's
Julian.
No, I mean, Florida State, okay, right now, the ACC is rated by ESPN Power Rankings as the 4th best conference, and they're behind the Big Ten.
That's ridiculous.
Like, the Big Ten is terrible. And Florida State, yes, they had the most impressive win against Clemson, and they beat Miami this weekend. But neither of those teams are that good.
No, but who did Alabama beat? They beat Texas A&M. They were ranked 117th in total defense in the country when they beat them.
What have they shown for them not to be number 1? They've been dominant.
I'm just saying,
if
Clemson and Miami are considered some of the best teams in the NCAA this year, and Florida State has just destroyed them, then why aren't they number 1? Alabama has not done anything since Texas A&M. You're letting them get away with Colorado State, Georgia State. Why are we letting them get away with this? Why does Alabama get this weak schedule?
National champs. They have done nothing to show that they're not the best team. I could care less
about what they did last year. I'm all about the present, man.
They will show you this weekend why they're number 1.
I honestly think that Florida State, Oregon, or Alabama could be number 1. And honestly, I would be totally satisfied. But let's continue to talk about Oregon. Pretty big night Thursday night. We got 2 huge games. Oregon versus Stanford. Let's start off with that one game. Will the Cardinal ruin Oregon's perfect season?
No, not a chance. And I mean, it seems like everything's no.
Come on.
I mean, I'll give it. It'll be a good game. But everything's set up for Stanford to come in there and pull for Stanford to beat Oregon.
Exactly. That's why they're going to beat Oregon.
But they won't. Like D'Anthony's comments about how they're going to destroy them. No,
they're not going to put up 40 points on them. See, the past couple weeks that Stanford's played against UCLA and Oregon State, they have shut down some of the best quarterbacks in college football. Brett Hundley looked terrible against them, throwing 2 picks.
But
Sean Mannion had not thrown less than 350 yards all season.
They haven't shut down the best quarterback in college football.
They're playing on the farm.
This is the best quarterback in college football.
Stanford
this is the best. There's no
Mariota will make mistakes. He hasn't made a mistake all year. Stanford's defense
then why is he going to start now?
They're going to get the pressure on him, and they're going to be able to stop him. 8 sacks against Oregon State.
He's just going to run around him. He's just going to run circles around Stanford.
Well, this is obviously one of the games, one of the huge games to watch on Thursday. Another huge game. Oklahoma travels to Baylor. If Baylor wins, are they a legit BCS contender?
First off, you got to congratulate Art Broswell. He's done down there in Waco, Texas. Yes, they are, but they're going to need some help. I mean, they got Ohio State up there who's undefeated.
This is the time for teams to lose.
Yeah, it's November. Ohio State, I think, probably won't lose until Michigan State if they play them in the Big Ten championship game, and then Oregon, Stanford could lose this weekend.
But can they hang with a team like an Alabama, like an Oregon?
They can put up points, but the thing is, they're not going to get the help that they need because right now you're looking at Florida State. It was one more tough game against Florida, if you call that a tough game anymore, how they've looked this year. Bama's got LSU coming up. That's pretty much all they have left. Oregon, Stanford this weekend. I think Oregon State is going to be a pretty tricky one. And then Ohio State's just going to sweep through the rest of their schedule. So they're just not going to get the help they need.
It'll be interesting to see if Baylor can put up the ridiculous amount of points that they've been putting up against these lesser teams against a better defense like Oklahoma. Yeah. We will absolutely be hearing from the two of you next week after the crazy weekend of college football ahead. But stick around. Coming up next, Jake takes a trip to the lounge with our MLB experts.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how. Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
What a wild MLB season it was. It ended with the Boston Red Sox reclaiming the title, and the party is still raging in the city of Boston. But now as reality sets in, the season's over, we look towards the offseason and what promises to be a wild one at that. Guys, there are so many highly coveted free agents this offseason, not the least of which is World Series champion Jacoby Ellsbury, somebody who will be very, very highly touted this offseason. So, Ben, start with you. Where do you see him winding up next year?
You know, I see Jacoby Ellsbury staying in Boston. I think, first of all, the Red Sox have basically their entire team under contract for next season. So I think they can open the checkbook on this one and just preserve what they have. Clearly, they're good enough to win a World Series with what they have. They don't have to really go shopping for anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Jacoby Ellsbury has already denied one deal from the Red Sox. If he wanted to play for a contender, he would already have signed with them.
Absolutely. He's not taking that.
I think he's going to go to a team that's going to give him a lot of money, which is the Seattle Mariners. Okay. They've already locked up their starting the top of their rotation for years to come with King Felix. Now they're going to lock up the leadoff batter and also an outfielder that they need. Because I'm sorry, but Frank Gutierrez is not going to do it in center field for the Mariners.
Yeah, you made a good point about the Red Sox already gave him an offer. They already did it 2 years ago and the year before that when Ellsbury blew up. And he denied all the offers thinking he's going to get a big payday. Even tried to do it during the season this year and it didn't work. They sent in that qualifying offer, which is just so they can get a compensatory pick if they lose him. I think he should stay. I think it's best for the Red Sox and it's best for Jacoby Ellsbury. But there are those teams like the Cubs, like the Phillies, like the Mets, that just will end up giving him 7 years. It's 30 years old and $150 million, and he'll end up somewhere else.
And it doesn't even make sense. We've seen it so many times with Albert Pujols and Josh Hamilton. The long contracts, they just don't seem to pan out.
Right, they don't work. They work for 2 years or so, and then by then the team doesn't have the player they expected to get.
Well, somebody, I think, might end up giving him that contract. And I've actually thought for a couple of years that it would be those Seattle Mariners. They do need a center fielder. They're willing to spend the money. And he's actually a West Coast guy. He's actually from the West Coast, so that would make sense for him to go there. I would love if he stayed with the Sox, but don't think it'll happen. Another guy that will be could be traded actually this offseason, will become a free agent after next season, is David Price. Will he get traded before the start of the season? And if so, where will he go? Connor?
Yes, he is going to get traded. He's already said that he expects to be traded. Yeah. He's going somewhere. He's going to go to the Rangers. Listen, the Rangers saw what the Detroit Tigers did this year with their 2-ace rotation, maybe 3 at some time, and I think they're going to go with Yu Darvish and David Price, get that, and then also make their rotation even scarier with Derek Holland, Perez, and Harrison backing up that rotation. I think he goes to the Rangers.
Yeah, you know, I think David Price is going to move. The Rays know they're going to get something big for David Price. He's a young arm. He's a lefty. He's a stud that will be a free agent soon, and they want to get something back from him. I think he's going to go to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I think they have the player to make an impact now in Mark Trumbo, and they have the farm system to back up Trumbo in a deal and pick up David Price.
You know, I think David Price will get traded during the season, but not yet. I think he's going to start the season with the Rays. I mean, first of all, listen to what he tweeted after getting shelled this postseason. Quote, TBS analyst Tom Verducci wasn't even a water boy in high school, yet he can still bash a player. Save it, nerds. I mean, is there a major league team that's ready to blow up their farm system right now, though, to get this guy? I mean, he's a question mark to me. I think he's a little overrated on the mound. I think he'll get traded to a pennant race contender.
I think he's too exciting not to get traded in those winter meetings when you get all of those owners in a room. It's like, wait, David Price is an option. He can be on my team.
Exactly. And I think the Rays know that. I think they know that if they trade him this offseason as opposed to during the season, they'll get the highest value for him. So I think he definitely will be moved. It would be scary to see him on either the Angels or the Rangers. Staying in the American League, which I think he'll do, is a scary thought. Now, there's always teams in the offseason that come out as, I guess, the proverbial winners. Different teams every year, and it's usually teams that are on the cusp looking to make a big jump in the next year. So who do you guys think those teams will be this coming year?
I would love to see the Cleveland Indians make a splash, not a huge one, but like get those little guys, the middle tier free agents, and make a splash in free agency. They were in the wild card game, which they lost. They were one game behind the Tigers, who now have a new manager. Had a solid hitting year last year, top 10 in slugging and runs scored. Their pitching needs help. I want to see them go out and get a guy who plays well in smaller markets, like an A.J. Burnett, maybe a Hiroki Kuroda for 1 year, and then get a guy like Joe Nathan to fill in on their bullpen. Their bullpen was not good this year, only bottom 5 in saves, and they need someone to help Chris Parrish. I think Nathan can do that for a year or two and give them that boost.
Well, you know what? I think the Oakland Athletics should probably acquire a catcher. They don't need to They don't need to spend crazily because they won't. But I think Jared Saltalamacchia could be a good fit there. What don't the Oakland A's do? Win playoff games. What does Jared? Look, Saltalamacchia just won a World Series, so I think that could be a good missing piece to the puzzle out there.
Surprised they let Grant Balfour go, though. That was a surprising move.
Yeah, I agree. You know, first of all, the team is just on the brink. I mean, they really are.
They're so close.
They're so close, and they've never won that playoff series. I think this could be the guy to do it.
If we're going to talk about a team that's on the brink, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles. They were, in my opinion, one of the most improved teams over the past 2 years. Their one problem is their starting pitching. They were ranked 27th in the league in starting pitcher ERA. If they change that, they're going to be a great team with that awesome batting rotation that was in the top third in every category. They just need a solid pitcher and maybe a DH so Chris Davis can stay at first base, do the great fielding job that he's done this year. I think the Orioles can finally be a team that overseats the Red Sox and the Yankees in the AL East.
Well, I hope you're wrong about that. But I do like all those picks. I think those are all teams that could use a little bit of help and just need a little bit of help to get over that hump. So we'll see what happens. But we have to take one final break. But coming up, we revisit a topic from a few weeks ago and decide whether a certain city has a reason to be hopeful.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 132.
That's how many batters struck out 4 times in one game last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's how many kids witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
That's not a good stat.
No, it's not, but it can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
It was no longer than a month ago that my little buddy sitting next to me declared the Cleveland Browns as the most miserable franchise on planet Earth. However, since Jake's comments, the Browns have climbed to second place in the AFC North and just beat the defending Super Bowl champs. Mr. Soder, do you have an apology to make?
Not so fast. Listen, I said the Cleveland Browns were the worst franchise to cheer for, in part because they make the lives of Cleveland's fans miserable towards the end of seasons. This is a city that has sports teams.
They usually are pretty bad all the time.
Have the knack, though, of building their city's hopes up and then crushing them just at the end of the season.
So the Cleveland Browns have had hope?
They do have hope right now, I believe. You know,
I guess a little bit.
What, they're 4 and 5,
no,
I think, is their record right now.
But previously they've had hope.
Previously, yeah, they have had hope in the past. Derek Anderson led this team to the playoffs in 2009.
Oh my God, I forgot about him.
Yeah, but anyway, my point in the Cleveland Browns being the most miserable team is let's wait to see how the entire year plays out. This is a team that right now could have a shot of being on the bubble going into the playoffs. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if they just choked it all away at the end. Hence making them the most miserable team to cheer for.
It's even worse to be on the bubble than to be the worst team in the league. I mean, because then you get an even worse draft.
That's kind of my point.
And I mean, we talked about the Browns, and we talked about in terms of always being the worst team. And I mean, just through historically, the Browns still stink. What are you kidding me? Jason Campbell's their quarterback.
Yeah. So let's cool it on. I'm wrong because
however,
listen,
I picked the Jaguars.
You did. You did pick the Jaguars.
Still stink.
They do. But here's the thing, though. Would you rather be from Jacksonville and just know your team's going to lose every game, or would you rather be from Cleveland, think they might win, and then get your hopes just destroyed?
I don't want to live in Cleveland.
Fair enough. That's all the time we have for today. But if you missed anything or just want to watch it all again, check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/101sports.
And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at 101sports.
For all of our producers and crew here in Studio B, we'll see you next week. And as always,
whose side are you on?